X-film gig.
Chito Bara ni Mamirete, which translate as covered in blood and roses.
Fitting because it was recorded on the Rose and Blood tour. And this technically is not a visual shock, but this was on the visual shock box set. So I think historically this is worth putting in here.
Yeah. And I don't think this recording gets enough love or attention.
Probably not, because the visual shock box was a limited release. And that's the only way you can get this.
Yeah.
The only other way you could have seen this is if you were at NHK Bay Hall in 1990, December, and they showed it once, and that was it as the film gig. And I don't know if we should go into what a film gig actually is, because
I think we should.
For the longest time, I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah. I think explain to the listeners, Jeremy, what a film gig is.
Basically, the band films a live show, and then it is edited and made to look really pretty and perfect, and then they show that in a theater, mostly in a live music theater, not a normal movie theater that you would go see a movie in, or a sort of live house, public hall, sometimes an arena. And people basically attend this, cosplaying, and there's merchandise as if it were a real live concert.
Yeah, and sometimes there's even, small pyro and things like that.
Right, yeah, or smoke and what have you. There are stage lights and a bit of a stage setup. I've seen footage of some of these film gigs that were recorded from the audience, and yeah, as you say, it's kind of a full production, but the band is on a giant screen.
Yeah, it's both cool and bizarre.
Film gigs are a huge event for the fans.
That's right. And if you looked at just the fans, it's like they're at the show. They're doing the X jump, they're jumping around, they're going crazy.
Which seems a little bit weird and disjointed, because there's no real interactivity with the band, and the band's not seeing the X jump. I guess this is a good way for them to kind of keep some activities going while they're busy working on other things. I mean, at this time, they were well ensconced in getting the Jealousy album finished. At least they were finished demoing it and into the next phase of things. So this is probably something to just kind of keep fans interested and have something maybe to generate a little bit of money.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure where this was filmed. I don't know if there's any information out there regarding this. I didn't see any on the packaging. This is actually a really great concert.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't get enough attention. It's a pretty good set list. It's well played. The sound quality is fairly good, much better than other film gigs that I've heard.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why the audio and video of this film gig is so good is because this basically sat in a vault or somewhere. The masters of this sat somewhere for years and years and years, and never was converted over to a digital format, my guess, until they were to release this visual shock box. So this would have probably been prepared sometime in early 2008 or sometime in 2007, because the visual shock box came out July 23rd, 2008. So, there were advancements in digital technology as far as cleaning up the image and the audio. So this looks better than any of the other visual shock DVDs or VHS or anything.
Now, shall we just go through the set list?
Yeah, so they start off with World Anthem. And, it's this standard opening sort of sequence for the whole early era, with the sort of growled, "Are you ready?" Like professional wrestling.
That was awesome. That was awesome, man. Perfect. So World Anthem goes into Blue Blood.
Yes, and the best part of this is the close-up shots of everyone, especially Yoshiki. Like, they're just the camera angles, and the way this is shot may be my favorite Blue Blood era live show on video or audio.
Actually, it seems like pretty much all the way through the Blue Blood era, it was World Anthem, Blue Blood, and into Sadistic Desire.
And all the camera work on Sadistic Desire, also with Blue Blood, they're very, very focused on each individual member. Lots and lots and lots of close-ups. The camera rarely pans out, at least for the beginning part of this. On Sadistic Desire, I realized that this is probably taken from a series of shows because Taiji's clothes change back and forth between the early Blue Blood sort of outfit and then the rock and roll cowboy outfit within the song. And Pata's outfit changes too, so if Pata's clothes change, you know that it's not from the same show. Because that guy keeps it pretty much straightforward, same clothes the entire gig.
Jesus, it was probably from a different tour, man.
Possibly. Because on a lot of these, you would see all the things that show montages of tours. He's pretty much wearing the same thing for an entire leg of the tour.
Jack Daniels t-shirt.
Jack Daniels t-shirt, leather pants.
Yeah.
There you go. That's Pata. But Sadistic Desire is missing a lot of actual song from it. It's edited down or based off the Vanishing Vision version. And it's definitely not the Jealousy era version.
Next song, Weekend. It was the new version of Weekend that they played with the
Yes, thankfully.
Yes. First time we'd heard it live. Well, it would have been if you were at the show.
Right. And one thing I noticed is that Yoshiki's hi-hat quarter note stomping in the beginning, just to kind of keep time, is really, really loud in this. I don't know why they mixed it so loudly. I hear a string patch on the keyboard really, really loudly in the beginning of this, which is kind of odd because they could have just used the actual backing track or what have you, but they were definitely using a live keyboardist by this point. So I guess it would probably be one other way to utilize that person that they're paying to stand off stage and fill out the sound.
Yeah, but that played well, and I enjoyed the new version because it's the new version, but it wasn't the version that they ended up playing. Again, slightly different.
Right. I mean, this version lacks the intro that they would later use for it. If you're a big fan of watching Yoshiki play drums, watching Weekend on this film gig is great because there's so many angles. They're pretty much focused on Yoshiki for the majority of this song. Hide, his backing vocals are still terrible on this performance.
Yeah.
Obviously before he got vocal lessons.
Yeah, and didn't have the effect on that they had on Bakuhatsu Sunzen gig.
Right, and Taiji also sings backing vocals on this, and it's really, really noticeable because they suddenly get way better anytime Taiji walks up and sings along. Hide and Pata's solos are a little different in this version of Weekend. The unison solo is definitely the same, but the individual bits, they're a little bit different.
Next was Stab Me in the Back, which again, now keeping in mind that this was played on most of the Rose and Blood tour, if not all of it, and they were going to, if not already had demoed it, for Jealousy. This version was the old version with the old lyrics, which is interesting to me, I think.
Yeah, the performance here is a little off. I mean, instrumentally, it's great, but Toshi's having a really hard time all the way through this song. I think that's probably why they sort of shied away from it later on. Probably by the post-Jealousy period, they weren't really doing Stab Me in the Back a whole lot anymore. Yeah, maybe it's because Toshi was kind of in between the old lyrics and the new lyrics for Stab Me in the Back, and maybe that was tripping him up.
Also, Hide has his own little singing solo in this.
I can't even tell. Is he singing any of the lyrics from the song? What is he doing?
I have absolutely no idea if it's in English or Japanese. All I can hear is... That's all I can hear. Again, if anyone's can tell us what he is singing or saying or what language it is even, let us know.
I will mail you a frozen waffle. It will probably be moldy and terrible, but I will... If you can figure that out, I will mail you one to anywhere in the world.
Alright, now, the other interesting part about this film gig is from here, 4 of the members of X have very short interviews cut in between different performances of the song. Now, after Stab Me in the Back, there is a message from Pata. Now, the interviewer asked each member 2 questions, and the first question is, what have you been doing while the band has been inactive? And the second question was, what do you want or what are you expecting from the new album, which at that stage they didn't know was going to be Jealousy. Pata said the usual stuff, really nonchalant. His message to people was basically, relax and enjoy yourself.
Since my Japanese comprehension is not the greatest, the only note I have for this is nice beard, Pata-san.
Ah, yes.
Which at the time was probably a little bit odd for the fans to see him with facial hair, or see any of them with a bit of stubble or facial hair.
Anyway, so after that, it goes into a short Pata solo. Now, I've got a lot of respect for Pata as a guitarist. I think he's underrated.
Incredibly underrated.
Yeah, absolutely. But you give him a guitar solo, and he will play the most boring shit that you've ever heard. He's really not good at, how can I say it?
Just being a soloist. I think he's good in the context of a song.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where he shines. Any of his solo stuff, he's good in a song context. But if you were just to tell him just play random stuff to entertain the crowd, that's not going to do much.
Yeah, and it's if you looked at his solos, you would say this guy can't play guitar that well. Yeah, honestly,
but we all know that he can.
Exactly, and that's what kind of it frustrates me. And I've said it in a previous episode, but Hide himself said that Pata is a better guitarist than him, and you see glimpses of it in a lot of the solos, but when it's in him as a solo artist on stage by himself playing a guitar solo, it's horrible.
I guess it's probably just out of his comfort zone. I think he's kind of a workhorse, sort of a mensch type guitarist, where he's just kind of there to serve the song and play complementary things. Even on his solo material, that seems to be his MO.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have any pretense about him, does he?
No, he just kind of goes out there. He's like, I'm Pata, I'm here to play some rock and roll.
Yeah.
Moving on to Taiji's section.
Yes, now, Taiji's section, he is in a tattoo shop, actually getting a tattoo while he's being interviewed.
In America.
Yes.
By an American.
A genuine American.
It doesn't get any more American than that.
That's okay. Taiji talks about when they ask him what kind of album he's expecting. He said, you're going to see a more powerful X. Now, that statement right there kind of feels like the beginning of the end. Like, that is where it stems from, because we all know that Jealousy is a great album, but it wasn't a more powerful X than Blue Blood.
No, it was a much more polished X than Blue Blood, for sure.
Indeed.
He looks like he's like a little high or drunk or something in this. I don't know if you noticed that his speech was a little slurred and mumbly as compared to normal Taiji when you hear him talk.
No, I didn't notice.
But then I thought about it some more, and I thought, well, he is getting a tattoo while he's being interviewed, so maybe he's trying to talk through the pain. There's the whole thing about Taiji submitting a lot of demos to X that were rejected, and I'm wondering if this is kind of the beginning of the end, and him hoping and thinking that you'll see a more powerful X on Jealousy. Maybe that was based on him hoping that his demos would be used. He did record a lot of demos, and they ended up on that Rose and Blood Indies of X thing that sort of squeaked out there under the radar in the early 2000s.
So from the Taiji Tat interview, it goes into Taiji's bass solo.
Insane bass solo. This is possibly one of the coolest bass solos I've ever heard from Taiji.
Friggin' awesome. I love this bass solo.
And I don't know, is that a drum machine playing, or is Yoshiki playing drums during Taiji's solo?
I think it was Yoshiki playing drums, but I could be wrong.
Okay. So much tapping and slapping.
Yeah, and it's so effortless as well.
He's just so cool and confident in it. comes through. He's just was an amazing bassist.
Yeah. So after the Taiji bass solo, it goes into...
This video is present for you.
Correct. This is a cut away from the live concert. In fact, it is the re-recording of Celebration that we just talked about from Visual Shock 2.5. And it shows, it's another montage of ex-Japan walking through the streets in full regalia in Japan, and some behind-the-scenes PV footage.
Yeah, I think this is pre-Blue Blood. Some sort of pre-Blue Blood promotional sort of stuff. The hair is so huge that I think that it has to be really, really early.
Yeah, just before Blue Blood was released, I'd say.
Yeah, and all of this footage is really random because some of it shows up in some of the other Visual Shock releases. I think there's some other Paris footage of Yoshiki, because Yoshiki's got an apron on and it looks like he's with French chefs or something like that.
That's right, he is. And he's going like through the markets, is that right?
Yeah. One thing I picked up on this, and I have not seen this footage anywhere else, so if it exists on any other release, let me know. But there is a bit of footage shown from the Weekend single cover shoot.
Oh, didn't know.
With Yoshiki in that blindfold and laying backward over a bunch of sheets or something like that. It's really brief.
After the Celebration bonus present for you, PV, is a brief talk with Toshi. Now, the thing that I noticed here, when they asked Toshi what kind of recording he wants for the new album, he said, I want to do a gentle and also tough recording.
And does he mean tough in the way like the sort of tough attitude, or tough as in difficult for him to do?
Well, I think attitude, because he used the English word tafuna recording.
Okay.
So it kind of made me laugh after hearing Taiji's. I'm going to give you a more powerful X, you're going to get a more gentle X.
Also worth noting is that those jeans are very, very high-waisted.
Yes, definitely.
As noted before,
Exactly.
Toshi definitely liked to wear his pants up very, very high.
There would be no nipples showing if he was topless.
But plenty of moose knuckle.
You just like saying moose knuckle, don't you?
I must.
From Toshi, it goes straight into Hide. Now this is really cool. The interviewer asks, what have you been doing while the band has been inactive? Hide's response is making songs, destroying my body, and drinking. Which
Sounds
I think
like
it is what it is. It's perfect. It's easy. They ask him what kind of album he wants, and he basically wanted like a huge album or a huge sound. Just what he's been doing in his spare time. It's like, well, yeah, okay. Can't argue with that.
Being Hide. And he's smoking the entire time. He's the only one out of any of them in these interview segments who is smoking like a fiend.
Yeah.
I will say he has definitely won the best pants in the interview segment award, because his pants are really cool.
I didn't notice. What was he wearing?
They were like, there was a cool pattern. I can't even remember now, but I put it in my notes, like, cool pants, Hide. You definitely beat Toshi and his high-waisted pants.
Poor Toshi in his high-waisted pants.
And moose knuckle.
From that we go into Hide's solo. Man, it was just as weird, if not weirder, than the Bakuhatsu Sunzen gig.
Random madness as usual from Hide.
Yeah.
He's mannequins wearing pleather on stage. He's feeling them up too. And it's just, oh, Hide. One of my notes is, what is he singing? It seems like a song or something. Lots of echo, but I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
And then my next note is, dude, stop singing.
And next, the now infamous Yoshiki drum solo.
No interview from Yoshiki.
None. Which is absolutely deliberate. Absolutely deliberate.
Gotta keep the mystery.
Yeah. And you know what? He really did have that kind of air about him back then as well. This was, keeping in mind, before internet, which was changed the game completely. You could completely control your image and your brand and the information that you wanted people to know.
Yeah, and in the liner notes for Jealousy, he was the only one who didn't want to give his blood type or birthday or anything. Everybody else is very, very forward with their birthday and their blood type.
Yeah. And that was all about controlling that information and creating that mystery. And it really did. It totally did, man.
It worked. I mean, there was a lot of intrigue surrounding Yoshiki and his personal life.
Drum solo.
Yeah, Yoshi's using weird light-up sticks. I've never seen him use them in any other concert footage.
Exactly what I was going to mention. It's the only thing that I kind of really noticed about that. Glow-in-the-dark stick. But they weren't glow-in-the-dark sticks, because if you look carefully, they've got cords coming out of them. Yeah,
there are cables attached to the butt end of the sticks, which that's got to be difficult to play with, because it sort of sucks. It changes the balance of the stick if you have something attached to an end of it. And
absolutely.
You can tell he's having a bit of a struggle in a couple parts, and I'm really surprised that he didn't get caught up on the cables at all.
And it was probably the shortest lived idea that X and Yoshiki ever had, except maybe the fire breathing onto the flag.
Right. But yeah, this is mostly normal Yoshiki drum solo stuff, with the riser coming way out to the crowd, as opposed to barely coming out to the crowd on the Bakatsu Sunzen gig. And again, Yoshiki's extreme snare drum angle, like the 90-degree. Okay, more like a 45-degree angle, but it did start to... Yeah. Maybe that's what he was going for.
The taiko.
Right. And then he's still using the old Paiste gong from the early days, and it looks like it's caved in. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't.
It looks like it's just been beat to hell, and it's time to replace it with something.
So, after the drum solo, we go into the Yoshiki keyboard solo. And I say keyboard solo, not piano solo.
The sound isn't so bad. It's sort of organ-y sort of things.
From my notes, all I've got is sounds as weak and cheesy as hell.
Okay, that's true.
That's all I've written.
But at least it's not the sort of horrible synthy harpsichord thing that he did before.
I just don't get it. We know that he can get a good sound out of that keyboard. I know I keep talking about this, but just give us a fucking piano sound.
Yeah, it's the keyboard sound that it's like a cheesy piano, and it just because otherwise this piano solo would be pretty cool. I mean, he does change the piano solo up a little bit from time to time, and this is no exception. He plays, because this is the beginning of #Vampire, going back in 1990. He plays Toccata and Fugue in D minor by Bach, and that's obviously that's always associated with vampires and Dracula. And the sounds coming from the keyboard are cheesy, but by this point, when he's starting to play Toccata and Fugue in D minor, it sounds like he's playing music from Castlevania, the Castlevania video games. And then he moves into a bit of Rose of Pain, and it's the bit that he lifted from another classical song that escapes me right now. But since he's already on the piano, he segues right into Unfinished. And I'd love for them to bring back Unfinished. I'd rather hear Unfinished live now than Endless Rain for the millionth time. I know they can't get away with not playing Endless Rain, but just throw Unfinished back into the live set, guys.
Yeah, I agree. It's an unbelievable song. I love his piano work on it. I never get sick of it.
Yeah, and this version is just Yoshiki and Toshi, and there's no backing track or anything like that. They could absolutely throw this into an X live set with no hassle at all. They would just need to rehearse it, and they would just kill on stage with that if they brought it back.
After Unfinished, we go into Kurenai.
The crowd is singing along with Toshi really, really loudly, and I don't know if they mix the crowd really loudly on this to get the film gig audience to sing along loudly as well. But it's awesome to watch on this and to hear on this. Yeah,
good version. They've slightly adjusted it. It's getting actually closer to the version that it's become now. Not quite, but it's slowly evolved over the 30 years.
Yeah, and I've also heard X play Kurenai better than this. It's not the worst performance I've ever heard or seen. Hide plays the beginning of the solo all right, and the rest of the solo is pretty good too. But again, like that's as noted before, this changes often over the years. The solo in Kurenai. Taiji looks like a leather daddy with his fake police hat and leather jacket.
A leather daddy.
A leather
That's cool.
daddy.
Also, Taiji's still moving around quite a lot at this stage.
This is probably taken from a different show than the majority of this film gig concert. The Yoshiki view cam on this song is actually pretty cool, especially when Toshi does his normal thing where he runs back behind Yoshiki's drums, sort of thrashes with him a bit.
Yeah, like we said, it's always cool. After that, into Orgasmo.
This is actually kind of disappointing. This is the most disappointing live version of Orgasm I've ever heard, because the shouted gang vocals are inaudible. They're completely missing from the audio, and I wonder if they're missing because they're hoping that would encourage the audience watching this film gig to fill that in.
Or maybe because they were that bad.
I don't know, but the gang vocals the second time around, they're audible, but the crash you part, that's missing. But they also gave Toshi control of a giant spotlight.
Ah, yes, I remember that part. And he looks like he's loving it. He's loving it.
Yeah, that's got to be incredibly hot, holding on to a really bright spotlight like that. But yeah, Toshi's having a ton of fun doing that. And he's also getting molested by the fans when he's not carrying that spotlight around.
How long does does the Yoshiki fire extinguisher part go for in that video?
It goes on for a normal amount of time. From everything that we've seen from the Blue Blood era, it just looks like he didn't spend a ridiculous amount of time doing the fire extinguisher running around like a crazy person a bit. Taiji got hit in the face by steam jets when they went back into the full band version of the song, or full band portion of the song. He doesn't seem to be fazed by it though.
Oh, okay.
But he definitely gets hit in the face by steam. I also, having to run with Yoshiki while he's holding the fire extinguisher tank has got to be a really tough job because he's really unpredictable.
Yeah, I thought that as well. And it's the same thing when he used to run around with the crowd after that without the fire extinguisher. Just the bodyguards that used to run around with him, it looks like he was actually trying to evade them.
And I'm sure that was a part of the plan and part of the, like, he prepped the bodyguards, like, okay, I'm just going to try to act like I'm running away from you, but please follow me.
Yeah. After Orgasm, 20th Century Boy. Perhaps the last time it was ever played by X Japan, or X.
Yeah, I don't, since we don't really know, this is obviously on the Rose and Blood tour, so we kind of have a vague idea of when the dates were, but yeah, it's got to be one of the last times they played it, because I don't know if there's any documentation of them having played 20th Century Boy during the the Violence Jealousy period.
I think they were playing a couple of other covers at that stage. One of them was Born to be Wild.
Yeah, they were there, but there's not a lot of... Maybe they didn't get the rights to Born to be Wild, so that didn't end up on any of the live recordings or live videos. But they were definitely pulling that out from time to time on the Rose and Blood tour.
Yeah. And the entire show ends with the song X. Or how do you say it?
Yeah, and it's the live intro that we're all used to by this point.
Yeah. Now, at the end of this video, Yoshiki is literally carried off the stage. And that conveniently kind of segues into the pre-recorded, it's the Blue Blood version of Endless Rain, which is a mixture of the PV and some montage material again.
Yeah, because I made a note of that, and it looks better than the one on X Clips, like the overall video quality. And again, that might be because this was transferred from the original master tapes and film at a later period than the ones on X Clips. I don't know if you caught this when the guys were walking off stage at right after X. Taiji's pointing at his arm, And I don't know what that's necessarily about. I don't know if he's pointing at his arm because, it was in a sling earlier. Maybe he was having, maybe he was just kind of proud that he made it through the show. But yeah, the Endless Rain PV this version's pretty cool. It looks more like they just cut in the part of the show where they're throwing out things to the crowd.
Yeah.
Since this is obviously meant as a stopgap thing to sort of keep the fans satiated and still thinking about X while X is working on Jealousy, there, a big sign flashes on the screen. New album, now on recording.
Now on record. And that ends video, yeah?
Yeah.